From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. A woman recently asked me if she is a lesbian. And she shared that she's wondering about this because although she is sexually active with her husband and has been married for many, many, many years, she has no desire for him. She is able to receive. She's able to feel pleasure. She is physically and physiologically turned on when they engage in sexual intimacy. Her body responds, and this is after a lifetime of refusing sexual intimacy with him because of his approach. His approach was very pressuring, and she did not respond well to that. And because of his approach, they went through many, many years of their marriage without sexual intimacy until they came to a point where they started doing some sex therapy. And this woman also started to get in touch with some of her own desires, which were more around same-sex desire. Now, this woman identifies as bisexual or has been identifying as bisexual for quite some time. She's coming more and more into her realization that she does have deep desire toward women. And as she's going through life, she's kind of checking in with her straight friends and talking to them about how they feel sexually about their male partners and trying to gauge, am I bisexual or am I lesbian? And this is such a personal question. And also there are some really, I'm going to say rigid ideas around what it means to be lesbian versus what it means to be queer or bisexual. A couple of weeks ago, there was a post on Instagram that I commented on. The post was saying how lesbianism is in its era of renaissance. It's sort of like romanticized and renaissanced. And this post went on to call out a number of different artists, musical artists who have had relationships with women and just, sort of really call out on famous people and talking about how this is the era, right? This is the time. In the comments, it was interesting because there was a lot of reactivity to this post from women who identify as lesbian. And they were calling out that these artists are not lesbian because a lesbian does not engage in relationship with a man, not romantically, not sexually, friendship, absolutely, but not in any kind of an intimate physical way would a lesbian engage in a relationship with men. And some of these artists had relationships with men or have recently, like Fletcher, who has identified as lesbian all along and was known as like a lesbian icon, recently came out a number of months ago as bisexual because she started dating a man for the first time. And so there was this real pushback on the post about, if you've dated men or if you are dating men, you're not a lesbian. Now, I commented on the post and just, I have seen the struggles of women and they are real. It is not easy to accept or embrace your sexuality when you realize that you are not straight, not in our society that is filled with homophobia and creates a lot of queerphobic conditioning for folks. And then add on top of that the conditioning of being a woman in the world who is taught that our job is to make sure everybody else is happy and okay. When you mix those things together and then also add in the amount of trauma that we experience as a culture, the amount of trauma we experience as children with parents who are neglectful in various ways and abusive in various ways, there is so much to overcome that being able to clearly connect to your sexuality, while certainly possible for some folks who do come out very young, it is a feat of so much energy, so much work and bravery, really a feat of bravery and courage for women to start to find a way to themselves and connect to this truth about them. And so in this post, I commented and I said, I work with women. I see all of the ways that they have been taught to disconnect from themselves from the moment they were born. You can't judge women who have dated men or have been with men or are married to men and decide to become ethically non-monogamous to preserve a family that they would like to be able to continue to raise together with their male partner while they both open up and have relationships outside. You can't judge these people in a way where you say that they are not lesbian. And I said something at the end like, there are many different ways to express your queerness. And I quickly was rebuked in this post by those same, I'm going to say very militant folks about what the definition is of a lesbian. And they said queerness is not lesbianism. And I find this to be so interesting because my understanding of the idea of queerness is that it is the bigger umbrella under which every aspect of not being straight falls under. And not being straight, not being cis, right? There's space for anything that is just not heteronormative under the queer umbrella. And here I'm being told that queerness is not lesbianism. So it made me pause, right? I identify as lesbian and queer. And I was kind of stopped in my tracks and really thinking about this. And then just going back to this question that this woman in one of my communities asked me based on her questioning her straight friends about their attraction and desire to their male partners, right? I'm running a community. I started running this community this summer. The community is called the Bi Life. Inside of the Bi Life, there are women in every stage of curiosity, questioning, coming out, realizing they're gay, separating from their partners, staying in their partners, practicing ethical non-monogamy. I mean, there is just every possible variation on queerness and coming into your identity in this community that I'm running. There are women that have realized that they've been in marriages for 30 plus years, have never felt any desire, have never really been open to receiving any kind of pleasure, have been completely dissociated sexually and are coming to realize that they are gay and that when they actually connect to any feelings of desire, those are same-sex desires. And these women have been able to say, I am gay, I am a lesbian. They don't want any physical contact with their partner. They are not responsive to it. Their body does not respond and react to it. But they were taught that they were supposed to partner up with a man, come from religious conditioning, come from trauma, and had no idea that there was more to a relationship than what they were experiencing with their male partner. I have other women, like this woman I started with, who also had no desire for her male partner, but was able to say, let's go and get some help. let's find ways of being able to physically connect to one another. And with the help of a sex therapist, we're able to do some exercises and discover what kinds of touch actually feel nice. And from this space of what kind of touch actually feels nice in a very non-sexual way, slowly start to explore what feels nice in a slightly more sexual way. And communication became a big part of this. This particular woman that I'm speaking of, she was able to really actually find herself feeling pleasure and receiving. Again, with no desire for her male partner, but her body is able to be open enough to receive. Her mind is open enough to be able to receive. And she also is coming to terms with the fact that when she has any kind of desire, feels any kind of desire, it is same-sex desire, though she has not yet experienced this in her life. Now, just finding this information out about herself that she does actually feel desire feels like such a win, because she wondered her entire life if there was something just wrong with her or if she was broken. In fact, she's not broken. She actually very much feels desire. It's just that it's for the same sex. And she's been married for quite a long time and is not willing to give up that relationship and the family aspects of that relationship and the friendship of that relationship. And she also has a spouse that is very open and willing for her to have experiences outside of their marriage. And yet this woman would like to know if she is lesbian because her desire is solely woman-loving woman desire. And I'm going to say that I don't have the power to give you that answer. I don't have the power to give you that answer. If you are lesbian, that is something you are going to come to yourself. Now, a lot of women don't like the word lesbian. It has a really negative ring for them. And then there are other women, including myself, that I absolutely love the word lesbian. I was so excited when I realized I was lesbian that my history with men was based in trauma and trying to correct my trauma. And that in fact, I have no interest in being with a man whatsoever. I have no desire for a man whatsoever. And so again, I go back to, this is a place for you. Anybody out there listening who is questioning this and wondering, it is a place for you to be curious about yourself. What would it mean about you if you were a lesbian? If you did have that identity, if you did connect to that identity, it felt true for you, what would that mean about you? What would that mean about your relationship that you're in with your male partner? What would that mean about being sexually intimate with him? I have to say, I don't know many lesbians that are sexually intimate with men, though I have met women who have identified as lesbian pretty much for their entire lives. And at times when they have not been able to meet a woman to have a relationship with, they have been in relationship with men because they'd rather be in a relationship with a man than be in no relationship. They want physical closeness. They want to be sexually active. They live in parts of the world where there is not a lot of choice of women. And I was very surprised about this. I was very surprised when I first came out to learn that there are women who identify as lesbian who would, meet up with a guy and have a sensual sexual night with a guy. I could not relate to that. I did not understand that. And again, these women identified as lesbian. I have come to believe that how you identify is not something for the outside world to tell you. How you identify is about what feels right for you inside. And so I can't tell you, honestly, cannot tell you how many women want me to tell them if they are bisexual or if they are lesbian. I do not hold that power. I do not hold the answer. I don't live inside of you. I can't feel what you feel. and only you can come to know what your identity is. This is your work. And I want to share that through the work of stepping in, and I'm going to say the small steps, I want you to know that through the work of taking the small steps toward understanding your identity, toward claiming your identity, you will come to find the answer for yourself. And those small steps can look like setting up a discovery call with me, walking into a yoga class that is a queer yoga class or an LGBTQ yoga class. It can look like volunteering at a queer event. It can look like joining the community that I run. It's called the Bi Life, but it is for folks that are in all stages of just leaning into their sexuality and wanting to be with others who are ready to have these conversations, who are available to have these conversations, who are not afraid to have these conversations. These small steps are the way, these small steps make up the pathway to you finding what your true identity is. So after a lifetime of being really guided by external influences, by society telling you who you're supposed to be and who you are, and looking for all of those signs and all those stamps of approval that you are doing it right and you are accepted and you belong, I'm going to encourage you to change your lens of how you're getting your answers about who you are and have those become internally focused so that the definition of your identity and what your identity looks and feels like is not coming from what society is confirming, but from what you confirm for yourself inside. And that might be, I am pansexual. I am bisexual. I am gay as fuck. I am queer. I am straight, totally straight. It might be any of those, but know what they are because you have taken those steps of curiosity on the path to discover yourself instead of looking outward for somebody else to confirm what you are. And this falls into the same question I get asked frequently. Do I need to have an experience with a woman that is sensual and sexual to know if I am in fact bisexual, lesbian, gay, however you want to define it? Do I need to have an experience first to know the answer? That experience might give you some information about yourself on the inside and what feelings you have, but that also really depends on what the experience is and who the experience is with and how that experience came to fruition. I've had women who have grabbed another woman in a bar and kissed her and felt absolutely nothing and then said, maybe I'm not bisexual. Maybe I'm not gay because I didn't feel anything when I kissed her. Maybe you're demisexual. Maybe you need an emotional connection with somebody to be turned on and feel something. That's how I am. I couldn't grab a random stranger in the bar and make out with them and feel something inside other than completely probably disgusted and also really uncomfortable. So that's not going to give you the answer. A lot of you out there, that's not going to give you the answer. The answer is going to come from inside of you. Are you open to what you desire? Do you value pleasure? How do you want to receive pleasure? Do you want to feel pleasure through giving? Do you want to feel pleasure through receiving? Do you not have any idea? Right? These are all ways to start to cultivate a little bit more inner awareness of what your sexuality is calling you to. So join the community, join the conversation, join the curiosity. That's what it's here for. If you want to do the deeper work, You really want to unpack and unlearn and connect your dots and see what all of the conditioning that you've been subject to your whole life, what effect that has had on you. Join Unbox Your Sexuality, a sexuality liberation program. Do the deep work. Find yourself underneath all of those layers. Set up a discovery call with me. Let me know, what are you questioning? What are you curious about? There's no obligation to anything more than just honoring your curiosity. I am here for you. I love to hear from you. I cannot tell you if you are a lesbian or you are bisexual. That is going to be your own work that comes to you through deep curiosity, deep connectedness, peeling back the conditioning, getting yourself out into the world, seeing what the community feels like, what the conversations feel like, what the energy feels like. I hope that answers some questions that I have been receiving from people out there. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me. Send in any questions or curiosities that you have that you would like to hear me speak on. I would be happy to try to answer them. I look forward to meeting with you again for more conversations. Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself